There's a storm across the valley, clouds are rolling in. The afternoon lies heavy on my shoulder. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away, and the whining of his wheels just makes it colder. He's an hour away from riding on your prayers up in the sky. 10 days on the road are barely gone. There's a fire softly burning, supper's on the stove, and the light in your eye keeps him warm. And hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. There's all the news to tell him. How'd you spend your time? And what's the latest thing the neighbors say? Your mommy called last Friday. Sunshine makes her cry. You felt the baby move just yesterday. And hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. And all the time that I can lay this tired old body down and feel your fingers feather soft upon me, the kisses that I live for, the love that lights my way, and the happiness that living with you brings me. It's the sweetest thing I know of, just spending time with you. It's the little things that make a house a home, like a fire softly burning, supper on the stove, and the light in your eye keeps me warm. And hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good
Carrie.
Okay, I hope everybody out there is smiling big time because you got to hear your own Ellijay boy. He's really an old man, guys, but he's so much fun and we love him to death. Mr. Ellijay opened the program for y'all so you can be happy, you can be healthy, you can be wealthy, and you can be wise the rest of the day. And wisdom is on set today. We ain't talking about me because we know how I feel about women in charge of anything. I don't want to be in charge of nothing. But the man in charge, Paul Kiker, is with us today, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But I want to start the thing out with 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 equals?
4.
4.
It should,
okay.
Unless you listen to the mainstream media.
Okay, the last time we had 2 4-year terms of what we've been dealing with lately was when I lost everything. So everybody wants to know, why am I such a staunch, crazy, absolutely conservative Republican? Because I lost everything in the second term of the first bunch of clowns that went through there. Yeah. And I'm going to say 2 plus 2, if we take the administration we've just lived through and sucked it up buttercup through, and we add 4 more years of that, we're done. D-O-N-E, done. America is done. And if you don't believe that, truly do your homework. I want to read you something. The Trump record: success, strength, and prosperity. Low prices, lower taxes, no tax on tips. He's been saying that forever. Now, all of a sudden, the Joker comes out and she's saying it now. He's been saying it forever. Secure our southern border. Here's where we're going with this today. One of the gang members from Venezuela went to Colorado because Colorado's governor said, we're a sanctuary state, come and be with us. And so the Venezuelan gangs went to Colorado and took over apartment complexes and have harassed, scared to death, and evicted old people because they're so scared they're leaving willingly. One of those Venezuelan gang members got on a train in Colorado, and he rode that train to Indiana. Now, y'all think about where I'm telling you. We're Ellijay, Georgia. We're Jasper, Georgia. Ball Ground, Georgia. Woodstock, Georgia. They could have just as well ridden a train to any of those places. This guy rode a train to Indiana. He had a knife this long on him. He gets off the train in Indiana, and he walks to a ball field where kids are playing ball, and he proceeds to come out across the fence and stabs a girl who was there watching her brother play ball on a Saturday afternoon. Okay, that wouldn't happen in America if the dadgum border hadn't been left alone. The border should have been left alone. They're down there dismantling it and selling it for pennies on the dollar. So if you wonder why I'm as crazy as I am about making sure that we save America, I trust y'all. I trust y'all to do what's right. And I've heard some of you say, well, I want to vote to get a woman in there. Why? Why, if she's not the best candidate for the job? I'm a woman. I'm a business owner. I've run companies for years. I'm not capable of being president, and I think I'm just about as smart as she is, and I have none of those degrees she has, but I think she got her degree from 1-800-DIAL-A-BABE. I mean, I'm serious. I just don't believe that girl. She can't hold her own with anybody. Anybody.
You know, one of the problems is the American people didn't choose her.
No,
Okay.
Nobody voted for her.
So when she ran in the primaries before, she polled so minimal. Tulsi Gabbard absolutely slaughtered her in the debate.
Absolutely.
And they're hiding her. She's not going into the media. Supposedly she had an interview with ABC here recently that ABC edited.
Yeah, edited 3 times.
The
edited
video down,
and edited
and then you've got RFK that's out there speaking on a regular
you
basis.
got to hear him.
Yes.
I'm so excited. That's like, whoa, I love it. I love
am
it.
too. So, and it was one of the most profound speeches that I've heard in a long time. And so I was at the Limitless conference in Dallas. So there were 1,800 entrepreneurs there. Mm-hmm. Some of the biggest movers in the nation in real estate. Ken McElroy puts it on with Tara Yaber. And I mean, these are movers and shakers. These are your entrepreneurs in the country.
Right.
And so I've been in the investment business 26 years, and I have never been anywhere where Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, which has changed a lot of lives. I mean, that helped me a lot when I was young. Still young compared to Robert, but I'll be 50 this year.
Yeah.
But it's the first time ever that I've heard politics openly discussed.
You would be 50. You were a baby when we started doing this. He was a baby. He was just a baby.
Yeah, I was 24 when I started in the business.
This is crazy.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but RFK is speaking the truth like it is. That's why they don't like him.
Right.
And the reality is he points out the fact that the Democratic Party, and I'm sorry guys, you're going to have to think critically about this. I mean, I would consider myself an independent. I have my opinions, but I try not to
I'm an independent who votes conservatively.
Yeah.
I vote with the Republican side because I am conservative. I
Yes.
can't vote the other way because I can't do the abortion thing. I can't do any of the things they do. I can't sit on my butt and send everything to foreign countries. I just can't do it.
No, and here's the problem with where we are right now. RFK lays out clearly, and the media, you know, since the government's been able to use propaganda on the American people since 2014 when Obama repealed the law to notify, we have been propagandized, and it's clear. The major media agencies are a mouthpiece of the Democratic Party. So in the past, you know, we were frustrated because you had the Republican Party tended to lean towards the military-industrial complex. A lot of people don't know this about Nikki Haley. I would not vote for Nikki Haley, period, because she's a woman, but she's bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex. Tulsi Gabbard was one that I really liked on the Democratic
Really
side.
love her and love the idea she's going to be a part of the Trump's whole deal. Tulsi's going to be part of it.
That's a big deal when you have two lifelong Democrats between RFK and Tulsi Gabbard.
Right.
That are,
and Elon Musk was a Democrat all of his life.
Elon Musk
I mean, come
was?
on.
Well, I want to tell you something.
We're talking smart Democrats are now with the Trump team.
For those of you that don't use X, that is the only full free speech platform left.
Let me tell you about free speech, and I would like to test this, but I don't know if it'll work on the air. Do you have Alexa at your home?
No.
Okay.
I will not use Alexa, Siri, or...
Okay, if you have Alexa at your home and you say, Alexa, tell me why should I vote for Kamala Harris, it gives you a list of reasons. Alexa, tell me why I should vote for Donald Trump. Make your own decision. That's the difference.
Well,
it gives you a list of why you should vote for Harris.
Yeah.
Siri, why should I vote for Donald Trump? It gives you nothing. Siri, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? Because she's a black Indian American, and it gives you that information.
Right.
Now, if we're not talking loading the decks, that's loading the decks.
No, I mean
I don't have Alexa. I don't have any of that junk, but it's happening.
No, that goes back to the fact that you know, a lot of the Democrats were frustrated with the Republican Party because they were bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex. The problem is now the Democratic Party is bought and paid for by the pharmaceuticals and the technological.
Big pharma.
So it's pharmaceutical, the healthcare industrial complex, and the technological complex. You know, it's funny because free speech is a big topic where we are right now. That's one of the major things that was discussed in the Limitless Expo when we were out there, was just the importance of preserving free speech.
And let's tell everybody, because not everybody, 99.9% of the people who watch us will agree with everything we say. There will be that 1% who doesn't, and that's why there's a disclaimer at the bottom of the line that says, me and my guest, it's our opinion, and you can listen or not, but thank God we still have the right to free speech on television.
Well, we do, but here's the thing that I want to share. So I don't want to act like, for probably 10 of the past 12 years, I was diligent about getting up early in the morning and reading my Bible. I've just been so busy with work and life and a few things, I haven't done it that often, but this morning I got up real early, and I was like, okay, where do I start? So I read in Isaiah for a little bit, and then I just jumped over to Psalms for whatever reason. I saw something about Psalms 140, and I was reading in Psalms 141. And I'm not going to read the whole Psalm 141, but I want to talk about the importance of biblical guidance, God's word for us. Now, Jordan Peterson did a really good job of just saying, look, if you don't believe in Christ and you don't believe in God, there's still value in the Bible and the lessons that it teaches you because it is full of wisdom. And before Jordan Peterson came to Christ, he made the comment, said, look, this is a collection of human wisdom spanning centuries that we have put together. So you take David and Psalm 141. Let's start with 3. This is good. It says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. My words have power. Do not let my heart incline to any evil, to busy myself with wicked deeds. Okay? Propaganda is witchcraft, is what it is. It's manipulating through deceit the opinions of other people for your own goals. Okay? That's not a mutually beneficial relationship. So anyway, David's just talking about, hey, protect me. And if you know David in the Bible, I mean, very few churches would put him on the pulpit today,
Right.
but he was a man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
It says, protect me from evil in company with men who work iniquity, and let me not eat of their delicacies. So the problem is, when you look at this military-industrial complex, you've got all kinds of the government on the Democratic side that are leaving government positions and going working for the pharmaceutical companies. And if you really look at what's taken place with the information we've come out today, that's conversation for another day. It's for their profit at our expense. But this is where I want to get to. This is why freedom of speech is so powerful, okay? And one of the reasons that I wanted to raise my children be mentally tough. So the truth hurts, okay? And usually when we get the maddest at somebody is when they tell us something that we know that we've needed to face, but we haven't. But the problem is, we've got a church today that's decided to be too kind. We don't have disciples.
Don't hurt anybody's feelings.
Well, we don't have elderly men and women who are taking the courage to build the relationship with somebody to speak into their lives. Now, it's easy for somebody to go stand on the corner and scream and yell at somebody's, life decisions. But as far as walking with someone and speaking to them out of love, we just don't see that anymore. That's just not something that's taken. But David says here, he says, let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. So you're out of line. Righteous man smacks you in the face. Get yourself together. Okay, let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. Let him rebuke me. It is oil for my head. Let my head not refuse it. And then he goes on from there. But just the importance of us having to have free speech. If we don't have free speech, and we're unwilling to engage in a conversation with somebody who's different opinions than ours, we are not going to be a better nation. We're not. And if we get in a situation, you go out through history, in every circumstance, go study your history, guys. Take the time to turn off your TikTok, turn off your Facebook, sorry about cussed on TV, and look through history for yourself, right? Read that Bible for yourself. Not what somebody says about the Bible, but go read it. And more importantly, watch what these politicians are doing, not what they're saying. One of the biggest problems that I have with this push and this propaganda that's coming is the Harris campaign is acting like they've got to fix all these problems. Well, guess what?
Guess who created them?
Wait a minute. The Democrats have been in control for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
She was the border czar.
Duh.
There are clips that go out there that say that she's the border czar, and then the media comes out and tries to say she's not. 4 years before that, Obama was in. So 8 of the past 12 years, we've had Democrats in control. Okay? They have torn the border down. We've got millions of illegals coming across. They're giving money to illegals when they won't even help the American citizens.
Or the veterans. Just think about just the veterans. If you take one segment of our population that really deserves our help,
Yeah.
the veterans. Homeless and cold on the street, and winter is coming.
And did you know that Planned Parenthood gave free abortions on the opening day of
and
the
vasectomies.
Democratic
And do you know what?
convention?
It was a sold-out deal. It was like a Taylor Swift concert. It was sold out. It was sold out right there at the Democrat. But did you watch, and this is Fox News, Johnny was the reporter. I cracked up. I thought, who are these clowns he's interviewing? And then I watched a little bit longer. This was people standing in line to go into the Democrat convention. And he was asking them, what has she done for our country? Why are you voting for her? That's where the lady said, because she's the first woman. And I'm like, no, I could have been the first woman, and I wouldn't have wanted the job because I'm not capable of doing the job.
Well,
because she's a woman. That's so ridiculous.
here's the problem for that. You don't pick somebody just because they're a woman.
No.
No, it would be really nice if
Yeah,
we had
if we
the
had
right
somebody
qualified
qualified,
individuals
yeah.
there. If we had somebody who thought on their own. Somebody like Tulsi Gabbard who gets up there and can debate, is working, is involved, is not bought and paid for.
With a, 20-year military career.
20-year military career. You know, she can debate. She can go. The geopolitical situation around the world is unraveling. Okay? We need leaders.
Speaking of, did you see what Biden said about the slaughtering of the 6 people?
No, I
Did you
didn't.
see
He's
his
been on
response
vacation
to
for 2
Netanyahu?
weeks. No,
He's
I didn't.
always on vacation.
Yeah.
He's at the beach. He's been at the beach 400 days of his administration.
know.
You know, yeah. Sad. Watch it. Just watch his interview. You just watch what he says. No, he doesn't approve of what Netanyahu is doing.
I don't know enough about what's going on there because I've been having to keep up with markets and stuff enough to where I haven't
It's sad.
kept up with
It's
it.
very, very sad.
So, you know, open borders is not the issue. I mean, think about it. You go to trade school, you busted your rear end, you're a server, you know, you're busting your rear end, you're trying to fight for housing to get a footing to get started, you're coming out of college and you're trying to buy a home, but yet you've got California that's giving $150,000 free loans to illegals that are coming in there. What about your citizens, right? I mean, there is nothing, Sherry, there is nothing worse than a man who is a father who cares more about what the friends of his kids think of him than doing what's right for his kids. There's nothing worse than a mother who cares more about the approval of the people around them. The problem is right now, voting for somebody just because they're a woman, okay?
Or
there's nothing
black
wrong
or
with that.
Indian
or black,
or white
or Indian.
or purple or pink. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Just if that's the only basis that you're voting
They
for
stood
someone
there in
right
line
now,
and said that.
that's foolish.
It's beyond foolish. Yeah.
It's foolish because that is virtue signaling, and that's virtue signaling, and virtue signaling being I want to be credited with virtue that I have not received, right? And you can't just blindly support anybody. You know, during the Trump administration, I was an equal opportunity basher of some of the things that he did. I'm like, you know, just back down. But we've gotten to this point in our country where, you know, Robert Kiyosaki laid it out at the Limitless Conference probably as boldly as I've ever seen. And he's the point that he's so wealthy at this point. He's got escape velocities at the end of his life. But he came up through communist regimes, came in here and saw.
You just said the magic word, communist.
Yeah.
She will lead us to a communist nation because that's where her level is right there.
Well, he
right
pulled
there.
out the Communist Manifesto and he said, you want to understand, you know, he started out, he says, well, I don't want to get political here. And then he started dropping bombs where everybody was laughing, and he basically came out, and I cannot disagree with his argument that her policies are communistic. And this is about power, okay? This is about getting votes. This isn't about lowering wages, but even if it is about lowering wages, okay? Corporate profits on Wall Street are the highest that they've ever been at the expense of labor. So of course corporate wants to bring in all kinds of this labor because they're sheltered from it in their gated communities with their private security, and it's going to increase the profits for them. And we've already seen a situation where the Democrats have been in control 8 of the past 12 years, and the wealth gap in the United States is the largest that it's been outside of right before the Great Depression, and it has been magnified dramatically in the past 12 years.
It's
Okay,
unreal.
the one exception is under Trump, we didn't go to war.
No.
Right? No new wars. They're warmongers. They would rather have the illegals come in and keep your wages low, give them money so that you can't afford to have a house, and bring equal opportunity misery to everybody. And the problem is, I want good people to come in, right? I want good people to come on my team right now. I'm looking to add another advisor. You know, I want good people to come in. But my clients deserve better than just hiring somebody just because.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You got to go through a filtering process. We want the best of the best to come into the United States. I want the best of the best. I want the people that come to the United States that say, look, I want to be in your area, in your country, because it's a better place. I want people to move into our area that say, hey, North Georgia is an amazing place. People are friendly. We've got freedom. We take care of each other. I want you to come here and meld into what it is that draws you here. We don't want you to bring the
Don't
problems.
change it. We don't want to change
Don't come from somewhere else
No.
where the problems have become so bad because of virtue signaling and electing people without thought that the Bible says there's a way that seems right to a man, in the end it leads to death. And then you come here and you're like, oh, I want to do that here. Well, all you're doing is coming in and destroying everything for the people that were here.
You know, something happened to me yesterday that really almost shocked me. I usually don't go places alone. And after I got off work yesterday, I had an errand to run and I had to run to Canton. And while I was in Canton, I was in there about 40 minutes maybe, and it was like 10 after 7, something like that, not late. And I came out and there was a gang of guys leaning up against a car, and my car was parked out in the parking lot, and I was walking alone to my car. And those men, and it was not profiling, but it was a rough looking gang of men. And I was terrified. I was terrified. I almost turned around and went back in the store because I had my purse, which had my credit card, my debit card, whatever in it, and I was terrified. And I was like, and I parked like 5 cars from the front door. So as I approached, and they were all leaning up against this little clunker car out in the parking lot. And it was almost like they were waiting, and you know, and it just scared me. And I thought, what do I do? Do I go back inside? What do I do? Well, I hit the unlock on my car, I threw my bag in the car, and I jumped in, and I got in my car and left. I don't know what they were doing. They may have been having a conversation about pickleball, for all I know. But it just, for the first time in my life, I felt fear of just being out in my community. I was 9 miles from home.
Well, it is understandable. You know, what people don't think of is the devastation that Venezuela has been through for the past 12 years. I know there was a period of time several years back where food was so scarce in Venezuela.
Oh my gosh, it was awful.
That people were with knives herding cattle down and killing them and cutting them up into pieces. You take Argentina, if somebody really wants to understand what's coming to this country, if we go down this path a little bit more, Furfowl wrote a book back in 2004 called Surviving Argentina. And it's about how society falls apart. And Argentina was one of the wealthiest countries in the world until
and the most beautiful.
And the most beautiful until they started pursuing these foolish policies. The same ones that are coming to the United States. But
let me, while you're talking about that, and then you address these things I'm going to say. Okay, no taxes on senior Social Security and no benefit cuts. That's what we need. We don't need to be taxed on our Social Security.
Social Security should not be taxed.
Shouldn't be taxed.
Now, I would say put a limit over it if somebody's making $400,000 a year plus.
Sure.
Then yes, they can have a tax on Social Security.
Yeah.
But the middle class at $250 or below right now.
Right.
And you know, and
Middle class $250 or below.
And inflation.
How about 40,000 or below?
Well, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying
Seriously.
that, you know, really that is in that middle class range now. It's down there. So yeah, Social Security should not be taxed. And most people forget Social Security is not welfare. It's an entitlement that you have paid tax on.
Right.
I pay 7% tax. You pay 7.5, I think. 7.5. My CPA is going to get on to me for not knowing.
Yeah.
And then the company has to pay another 7. You have paid for that Social Security benefit.
But self-employed, then you pay more than that.
Well, 14.5.
Right,
Because I'm self-employed,
exactly.
so that's what I
me
have to
too.
play.
Okay, prevent foreign wars, peace through strength. That is so important to me. That is so important to me. I am terrorized that if this person were to go into office, we will be the laughingstock of the world. I don't think we will ever see world peace, and I don't ever see America as a strength in the world again. I think she could destroy it. I think that she literally, I wore this heart shirt today because I love America, and I want everybody to know how much I love my country. If I were a Democrat today and had been a Democrat all my life, there's no way you could force me to vote for the Harris ticket. No way.
Well, the problem is you're not voting for her, you're voting for unknown people behind her.
Exactly.
She doesn't have the intellectual capacity, obviously,
right,
to make these decisions. And here's another thing, speaking about that. We don't need to be in wars.
No.
Right? It's not our responsibility to go out there.
Do you know how expensive a war is?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Do you know how much the U.S. sent when Joe pulled out and left 13 to die plus hundreds more?
Yeah,
Do you know how much?
$80-something billion worth of equipment we left.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That'll be used against us at some point in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
But I had an interesting conversation. I learned one thing, Atlanta to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I booked a ticket to go into DFW, rented my car from DFW, and John, the other advisor on our team, said, "Are we flying out of DAL, Love, which is 15
Right.
miles down the road?" I was like, I didn't know. If you do the city, it'll give you any airport in that city. So I had to take my rent-a-car back on Saturday, and I got an Uber from a man that had moved here from Rwanda 20 years ago, and I started asking questions. I said, "So how do you feel about, what's going on in Rwanda? Things are great now." He said, basically, this is the line I use all the time. He said, weak and greedy men destroyed Rwanda, and now we have good men that are making it better. It's a wonderful place to be. And then he goes into talking about how America comes over there and wants to force upon them, here, you take this money and you do this, and we want these transgender ideals and, blah, blah, blah. And he said, our leader said no. He said, the other African leaders are saying no. We don't want your ideals pushed upon us. So no foreign wars.
I love that.
So here's my thing. We should be the beacon of integrity and the beacon of righteousness. I believe fully that if you draw a line, this is the way I raised my kids. I said, here's the line, you cross it, these are the consequences. You draw that line and you say, hey, let's get along, okay? Let's communicate, let's meld our societies together globally, let's all get along. As long as you don't cross that line right there, then you have no problems with me. But if you cross that line right there, there are going to be immediate consequences, and we have to be individuals of our word. I raised my kids. My wife thought that I was a barbarian to do this, but I said, men operate on respect.
Yeah.
And I said, if you tell somebody you're going to punch them in the mouth, do it or apologize for saying it. But don't say you're going to do something you don't do, because now you're not a person of integrity. You can't be trusted. You have you should have no respect whatsoever, right? So even if you lose your temper, there's always an out, and that's biblical. But no, we should not be going into these foreign wars. It's not good for our citizens. It's not good for the destruction that it brings to the other countries, and it foments hate against the American people.
How much housing do you think we could build for our veterans with $400 billion?
Oh my gosh.
$400 billion. Now, I don't know if y'all know it, but you wrote a check for that $400 billion. You wrote a check every time you send the government money. You wrote a check every time you pay property tax. You wrote a check every time you do anything that gives the government free reign over our dollars. And $400 billion in the housing market, I would say, would house, golly, how many, it would house the whole world, honestly. You think about
at $325,000 a house, that's 1,230,000 houses.
Boy, that'd be a shame that we put that many veterans in homes, wouldn't it?
Well, and here's the thing: you take all these stupid regulations out, and requiring all this stuff that's done.
We could build that house for $275.
You could build that house for $275. That's 1,230,000 houses that could have been built inside the United States. Then you give some tax incentives, so that there's affordable housing that's built, and then we bring back, housing projects within the communities. It's easy to solve.
Yeah.
It's easy to solve if we decide to actually do it and spend money on our American citizens. I don't even want to get into our national debt. I do, but I don't have time to go down that path. But we are close to the point of no return where our country is bankrupt. It's just a matter of time.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're the money man. Do we literally borrow money from China, and now we are so in debt to China that we can never get out of debt to China?
Oh gosh, I haven't answered that question in a long time.
That was brought up in a discussion I was in the other day, and they said, do we still owe China billions of dollars?
Yeah, we owe China billions of dollars, but the reality is you could just default on that debt if you chose to as a nation.
Okay.
So they carry more risk than we do.
Okay.
As long as we haven't allowed them to put liens on our natural resources, as long as we're not allowing them to recycle those funds back into U.S. housing, because if I'm a Chinese citizen and I see the path that the U.S. is going on, I want to own assets in the U.S. I don't want to own our treasuries, because inflation is going to eat up the purchasing power of the treasuries. And we shouldn't allow them to recycle that back into farmland that's owned by international citizens or housing to compete against our citizens. When our younger families and our middle class and below can't afford a house. Okay, so first thing we should do is shut the gate on that. But no, I'm not as concerned about that as what I have been in the past. Russia, has sold all of their treasuries to reduce that risk, basically. And those other countries are actively moving to an alternative to the dollar, and I can't blame them, right? Now, how long is it going to take? I don't know. It's going to be profound in the outcome that it has for citizens, and devastating for a lot of the baby boomers, I believe, and they're oblivious. They're oblivious, and I don't even think they care to know.
No.
But
no, it scares me so bad. I hope you can go back on the news and look at Fox News. It's on YouTube actually, where the guy was interviewing the people in line to go to the DNC, and when you listen to every single person that he asked, and when you look at them, put the 2 and 2 together, and you're going to get 4 every time, and none of them had one answer to anything that said she's incredibly good at this, she's incredibly good at that. She didn't do anything. She's done nothing. And I said this is what I really, really love. Trump was tough on crime, and violent criminals were behind bars. They were not arrested, spanked on the hand and let go, or told you can steal $999 worth of anything every day, all day long, and you will not be charged. Now, I'm sorry, you will not be charged. And y'all, this is crazy, but once upon a time, years and years ago, somebody was selling drugs to one of my kids, and I made a threat against this person, and I would have carried out the threat if he hadn't gotten out of our lives. Would have carried it out, because protect my child.
It's a responsibility
I went to the Pickens County Jail, where I would have been booked under a $25,000 bond for telling the drug dealer I was going to do something to him. Now think about that.
The drug dealer called and reported you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And our Justice of the Peace actually was dumb enough to let him take out a warrant. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So I've been there and done that, y'all. And I will tell you, America is so weak today. We can't stand up and keep the drugs from coming in our border, because what do, Paul? We follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money.
We follow the money. What she did in California, she will do in America. Okay, this is her record. Skyrocketing inflation, tax hikes, illegal immigrant invasion, taxes on Social Security, and benefits devalued by inflation. That's so important. Fund foreign wars, weak on global stage, soft on violent criminals and illegals amnesty. But I'm telling you, the year that I did that, my daughter was 14 years old. I would have done anything to save her life. And if it meant breaking his neck, I'd have broke his neck. But the idea that I was in, the deputy pulled up at my house and he said, God, I hate to have to tell you what I got to do. I said, it's okay. It's okay. And I had to go to Pickens County Jail, and it was taken care of, and my bond was signed, and everything was done. And everything was dropped, because I said, look at me as a parent. I'm trying to save my child's life, and I threatened the drug dealer who was coming in and bringing drugs. Okay, I threatened him. Today in California, where she was over the state for how many years, she allows steal $999 and you don't go to jail. Isn't it $500 is a felony everywhere else?
I don't know. It's on a state level, so I don't know.
Well, I think it's $500 in Georgia is a felony, and you do go to jail. But in California, steal $9.99, and you just take it home, and your babies are dressing good, and your honey's dressing good, and you got something to eat, you got you a diamond ring you can go pawn because you've just stolen $999. The Target stores, so many stores are being just absolutely, they rampage. They go crazy, they bust the glass, and they take it out, but they're not charged. Yeah. And they leave with arms loads of clothes. And I'm like, who does this? Well, she did that. That was her idea, that it would not overload the judicial circuit. It would keep things going smoothly, you know, because then we don't have so many criminals going to court. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Does that make sense?
No.
No. Do we want that here? No. No. And you know that, what's that saying, do the crime, do the time?
Right.
Okay. Not in California, you don't. It's
No,
crazy.
Unfortunately, it rewards evil behavior at the expense of righteous behavior.
Yeah. And people like the Target stores are leaving areas, they're closing, the restaurants are closing. People are boarding up their small businesses because they've been violated so many times by these criminals.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever been charged.
Yeah.
You know, that would be like, okay, I can hear Stacey Nicholson saying, hey guys, y'all go downtown and just ransack Ellijay, but don't get more than $1,000 a person.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? His deputies would be out there, it would be locked and loaded. And you'd be in so much
if
trouble.
Stacey said that, Lacey would not let it happen. So that's a good thing about having city versus county, right?
There you go. There you go.
Stacey wouldn't say that.
Oh, I know.
Better not. He wouldn't last long here.
No,
He would not do that.
It's crazy. We have the right to protect ourselves. And in California, they don't even have the right to protect themselves.
No.
And that's what she wants for America. Just let everybody come in and have a party. Have a party.
Well, I think people forget, and people don't want to see it this way. We live in a world that has good and evil. Christ came to die on the cross to redeem us from that. There's legal aspects of what's taking place in the world that we don't understand on a cosmic heaven level. But for now, evil has a lot of power. And evil is never going to come out and show itself for what it truly is. It's going to operate under deception. And if it can deceive the large majority of people and get them to virtue signal, support me because of this. That's why it's so important, y'all. Pay attention to what they do, not what they say.
Yeah.
Okay? When there's no restraint against lying, I mean, look, here's the thing. We're having a conversation.
Did you ever work at McDonald's?
No, I worked at the lumber supply growing up in the chicken
Well,
farm.
according to McDonald's,
I worked at Winn-Dixie, though, when
according
I was
to
in college.
McDonald's, they keep a record of every employee they've ever had. She's not on that record.
Oh, did she say she worked at
She
McDonald's?
said she worked at McDonald's.
Oh, well, it doesn't surprise me. I didn't know that. I mean, look, these
not
people,
on their
you know,
records.
when there's no boundary, my grandfather made a comment when I was a kid that I remember, and he didn't talk that much. But we're standing in the garden one day, and I was in trouble for something. So I loved to garden today, but I had to go work in the garden. My grandfather looked at me, and he drew a line in the dirt. It's a box around. And he said, integrity matters, and boundaries to your integrity matter. And he said, that's the box that you should live your life within. He said, but most people think that they're people of integrity because they justify their actions, okay? So if you imagine that being a box and you put handles on it and you pick it up, well, I'm gonna do this because, right? I'm gonna lie because, you know, it's better. Now look, we all
sounds
we all
better,
give,
looks better.
we
yeah.
all give white lies, right? Like, you know, I mean,
I've said I've gone somewhere a million times, when in truth I've only gone there 122,000 times.
that's not
you know.
really lying.
Yeah.
That's metaphorical, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody's like, hey, how do you like the color of my new cars? Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
that's,
great. It
That's
sucks."
interesting. Interesting means they've learned me enough to go, interesting is like, you don't like it. I'm like, well, I mean, you like it. That's what matters.
Yeah.
So, but he made the comment, he said, the most dangerous thing is if you grab those handles and you pick them up and you justify it, all of a sudden you're walking around with no integrity for the world, but you really think you're a person of integrity because you're moving your boundaries all the time. And that's the problem with the deceit and the lying, and that's the problem of where we are right now. Deception started in the Garden of Eden. Women, you women know more than anything how
Satan works well.
nasty the consequences can be from a deceptive man.
And Satan makes it all look so good.
Yeah, it makes it all look so good.
Yeah, he sneaks in your ear and he tells you, oh yeah, and before you know it, Satan's there.
So the removal of freedom of speech means we don't want to hear ideas. I can't remember what the quote is, but you know, the truth can set the minds of men on fire. I know I'm butchering that. I can't remember who said it, but you know, the truth is important. discussion is important. Calling out lies is important. We have a media, mainstream media, that doesn't do that anymore. And the American people are not demanding it.
Yeah.
Right? The American people are just not demanding it.
Well, you know what I love about her running mate talking about liars, pants on fire? If he walked down the street, he'd probably have a big hole in his pants because his pants are on fire. He said, oh, coach, and his brother gets on and does an interview and said he couldn't be a coach because he had a DUI and he was like 3 times the legal limit of alcohol. So no, he wasn't a coach, no, he wasn't this, no, he wasn't that, no, he wasn't. So his brother has shot down everything he said to make him cool. And all the things that he created about himself that were cool. Hey, I could tell y'all I was 126 pounds and bleached blonde, but it ain't happening. Weight Watchers can't even do that.
Right.
You know, you see the truth, and the truth will stand when everything else is gone. Truth will be standing there, and you'll be going, wow, wow. I don't want to be part of that factor that says in 4 years, I loved my country and I let it fall to the wayside because I believed a lie. I'm sorry, I have to vote the way I have always voted. I have to vote conservative, whether it be independent, Republican, Democrat, I have to be a conservative. I want our country to be standing 4 years from now, and I am terrified. I've never, ever been this scared. I am terrified.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, I wish we had better options. I mean, I'll say that. Trump is certainly not the ideal candidate on that side. But the one thing that I can say is he's got the spirit to fight and to stand up, and he doesn't have to do this.
No.
But what to me is a testament that's greater than anything is the fact that RFK Jr. is coming in and dropping signs. So this is more than Democrat versus Republican. This is about the future of our country.
Good and evil.
You've got Tulsi Gabbard that I've said for a long time. I mean, I'm telling you, if it had been Tulsi Gabbard on the Democratic side versus Trump, I'd have voted for her. You know, and they've slaughtered RFK, but what he's done for people, did you know, okay, listen to this, and you can go to Ken McElroy's YouTube, Ken McElroy, and you can see the video of the conversation with Robert Kiyosaki and RFK. It was unbelievable. Did you know in the year 1980, 1 in 10,000 kids had autism? 1 in 10,000.
I know you rarely heard of it.
Yeah,
rarely
you rarely
heard of it.
heard of it.
Rarely heard of it.
Do you know how many kids have autism being born today?
A whole bunch.
Take a guess. 1 in 10,000 in 1980.
Probably 1 in 100.
1 in 34.
Oh my gosh.
1 in 34.
Wow.
1 in 34.
Wow.
Okay. So RFK gets up there and he leads the statistics. You know, there were a certain number of vaccines back then. I can't remember. This number is going to be wrong.
Were your kids all vaccinated?
Only the minimum. We pushed that back against everything.
Because thank God my little ones have not been vaccinated because they chose not to be.
Had I had it to do over with again, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Not with the information we have today.
Right.
So RFK got invited with Trump to come on. Trump had tried to bring him in and how to deal with health care, make America healthy again under his administration. He sat down with Fauci. Fauci comes in, makes a big show out of all of his stuff. You got to go listen to it because he has all the data in there. And he said there's been no test done on all these vaccines. You know, and Fauci's like, yeah, we just don't have that data with us today. And come to find out, he finally got a letter that he has on his website somewhere, American Health Coalition, that proves that the government stated there's been no safety test done on these vaccines.
So ram them in you.
So they're just adding them. And then he goes in and talks about the statistics. You're talking about $500 million a year. If you can get on that vaccine schedule, that's $500 million a year for the pharmaceutical companies.
That's crazy.
Well, you take it all the pharmaceuticals that are being advertised on the mainstream media, are they really going to report honestly if they're going to, because they're already about out of business. So they're serving money. They're not serving truth. And, you know, and here's the thing. What is wrong with questioning whether it's the vaccines or not? Do we know that's the case? No, but 1 in 34 kids with autism versus 1 in 10,000, something's changed.
Oh yeah.
Something's changed.
Oh yeah, and you know what's so weird is like the doctors, and again we go back to the doctors get paid for distributing this stuff because they get the money and they get the money and follow the money. I refused anything. And every time I went to the doctor, they would ask, and I said, no, 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 no. I said, don't ask
Yep.
me again. Quit asking me. So I changed doctors. I was like, no, don't care. Not going to do it again. This is crazy. Because they didn't take no for an answer. They kept asking. And I was like, really?
Well, here's the thing. I saw a statistic today. You know, most of your pediatricians get 50% of their revenue from vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take away, and the cost of their overhead's about 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a conflict of interest in there. But here's the thing. There are some really good people. Now, you know, in the investment industry, I was blessed and cursed, I guess, to wake up to sell side, which is the research of the people who are offering the products that they're selling you versus independent research. And I learned very quickly that the conflict of interest was they want to put as much lipstick on this pig so that you can sell it because they make money doing it.
I got a perfect example of that right there.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, that conflict of interest, we got to remove that conflict of interest. I believe that if you work in the government, that you nor your kids for 20 years after you leave government should be able to go work for any of the institutions that you regulated. And you know, and anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. You got to go listen to that video. It's profound. And if anybody wants to know,
And tell us
just
again
email me.
who it is, how
So
to
it's
find
Ken
it.
McElroy
Okay.
on YouTube. So, and he posted it here recently. Let me see if I can pull it up and I'll find it for you real quick because I started to go look at it. But Ken McElroy is a real estate guy that I like. He's a great individual, been ridiculously successful. Well, where is it? I'll find it here in a minute.
We only have a few minutes left, but let me ask you, what is going to happen with the interest rate when we get a red win? We know that we will have a correction period that will have to work. So what's going to happen with housing? Because we know there are no middle class buyers right now. That's really a tough market, and there are people who want to buy their first home. What's going to happen there?
So it looks like, sorry, I'm pulling it up so I can get it to you. I got to get through this ad. What's going to happen with interest rates? The Federal Reserve has signaled that they're wanting to cut interest rates.
Well, duh. They should have done it a long time ago.
Based on the data that the government's given us, if you can believe it, it's the dumbest thing that they could possibly do.
Yeah, because we're in a
Because
mess.
it's going to ignite inflation again. If they're so desperate to cut interest rates because we're headed into a recession, then the government data is not true. So,
And
I
again, you
think-
said the word government data.
Yeah.
Where'd that data come from?
Well, that's one thing that all
Where'd it come from?
all these leaders we're talking about out there says we can tell you in our businesses we do not see the government data being true.
No.
It's all manipulated
No.
for political purposes. So anyway, if interest rates go down, then yeah, that's going to provide some demand for housing. But we're still at a point where something has to break. Either house prices have to come down about 30%, or incomes have to go up closer to 50, or a combination of the two. Okay, so we just don't see that happening right now. You've got this administration that if you take them give them the benefit of the doubt, they're bringing immigration in for more jobs, to create better service and to lower wages. Well, congratulations, rest of America. You got houses that are more expensive and you're not going to be able to increase your income to keep up with
That's
them.
so crazy.
On the nefarious side, it's really for voting because they
that's
won't,
all it's
they
about.
won't,
That's all
in
it's
no
about.
way should a non-citizen vote in an election. In no way should you vote in an election if you can't show an ID. That's racist.
But they're creating ways to get around it. They're doing that. We've
I know
seen it.
they
It's
are.
proven.
I know they are.
It's proven. You can get a driver's license like you just went to Kmart and had a blue light special. Seriously.
I know.
So they are creating this. And I know somebody who works in an industry where she uses the same labor from foreign countries over and over and over. And she said once a year, the same gentleman comes in after going to his country for a vacation, comes back and he says, "Here's my new Social Security number." Okay. You were Juan last year, and this was your Social Security. Well, I'm Jose this year, and this is my Social Security number. It's happening every day in America.
Yep.
Every day in America, because companies are desperate for help, and whether it be in rock quarries or whether it be in fields in South Georgia where crops were sitting there not being picked because they had no labor, they got desperate and they did some stupid stuff. But these people are even changing Social Security numbers. So how hard is it to get your blue light special driver's license? Not very hard.
No,
not
it's
very hard.
Shouldn't be that easy. Ken McElroy, Ken, K-E-N-M-C-E-L-R-O-Y. It was put out 3 days ago. The Dire State of America with RFK Jr. and Robert Kiyosaki.
I want to hear.
Highly
I want to
recommend
watch
that
that.
y'all listen.
Yeah.
I shared it with my kids,
Yeah.
and I told them. They knew that he was there when I was there, and I shared it with the family and said, y'all need
Well,
to
we
watch
have to tell y'all, it is getting very close to early voting. I'm going to early vote. Are you going to early vote?
this.
I'm going to early vote just in case I fall over dead before then. So whether you vote early, absentee, by mail, or in person, we're going to protect your vote. Just make a plan and vote from Donald Trump. Swamp them with votes. Make our victory too big to rig. Vote on or before Election Day and vote. And y'all, common sense. Common sense. Common sense shows us what 4 years ago the economy was like, what we were doing, the increase, the safety, the security, the reflection of people respecting America again. That was such a nice feeling. It was such a nice feeling. And it's gone. And now we're the laughing stock of the world, and it's embarrassing. So
Yep.
thank you for being here.
Hey,
If y'all have money, we want you to go talk to Paul.
I'd be honored to serve you. Hey, I want to leave with this one scripture because we got enough minutes to say it. So Psalm 141:8. But my eyes are towards you, O God, my Lord. In you I seek refuge. Leave me not defenseless. Keep me from the trap that they have laid for me, and from the snares of evildoers. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely.
There you go.
Now, if I'd had a whole week of prednisone instead of one day, I'd have probably been a little more serious than I am right here.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, guys. They're setting a trap for this country, and if you can't see that, I feel sorry for you. This election matters. They've all mattered. This one matters dramatically. And I don't think it matters who wins. There's going to be conflict on the other side of it.
This is saving our country.
But I'm telling you, getting our borders under control, stopping these wars. We're flirting with World War III now, and we're to the point, and it's like this administration is asking and begging for it. And take the time to go out and read. Don't believe what the news media and the propaganda centers are telling you. If anything sticks in your mind, remember that I told you, and this will stand the test of time, that the major media outlets are propaganda, both on the right and the left.
Absolutely. 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 Well, thank you for being here. And we want to remind you, 9/11 is coming up. In my eyes, what has happened at the border will create our next 9/11. And it scares me greatly because I would say in America today, we are losing as many by rape, theft, murder from the gangs who have crossed our border than we lost on 9/11. Put that in your cup of coffee and take a sip.
Yep.
I think that's the truth, and I think we're going to see it. So be safe today. Have a good day, and we'll see you again. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube and check us out. Lots of recipes, lots of old programs we're posting now, and lots of good times. With 18 years we've been doing this. 18 years.
It's hard
we're
to
getting
believe, isn't it?
old. Yes. Yeah, we're sitting here getting old right before your eyes.
I turn 50 next week.
I love it. I love it.
50.
Bye, y'all.